speak through Fox News and let the independents who are tuning into you, let them know what it is that she stands for, the principles behind her positions.
It used to be that new candidates were advised to brush up on the issues so they could handle questions from anyone, even tough questions. The idea behind that was that it prepared you also for actually governing. But now the advice to candidates is only to talk to sympathetic reporters.
We need to start now by electing strong leaders who aren't afraid to shake it up. We need strong, principled leaders, public servants who respect our Constitution.
We need clarity. We deserve answers, so we don't ask the same questions tomorrow.
Good night, Lon.
Welcome back to the Ed Show. Battleground story tonight. Sarah Palin says she won't sit down or shut up. She did her first interview since Tucson on Sean Hannity's show last night. Even in the safe haven of Fox, she had a bitter and defensive demeanor, I thought. But she's still pushing the buttons of the conservative base, using graphic words and twisted facts. Here's what Palin said at the start of the interview.
The number one thing to remember here is that lives were lost, people were injured, a crazed gunman that I and you and others had nothing to do with influencing him. He is the sole person, I believe, to blame in this.
A crazed gunman is the sole person to blame for Tucson. Now, just remember that. Now, Palin was asked about the graphic on her Political Action Committee's website that had crosshairs over Gabby Gifford's district.
The graphic that was used was crosshairs targeting the different districts. And again, that's not original. In fact, Democrats have been using it for years.
Palin admits they were crosshairs. The Palin camp has changed their message. Now the line is, yes, it was crosshairs, but we just stole it from the Democrats. But then Palin slipped in a truly stunning remark.
And I don't know if the Democrats have taken down theirs in these ensuing days, but again, knowing that that had absolutely nothing to do with an apolitical or perhaps even left-leaning criminal who killed these innocents.
What did she just say? Can we play that again? Here it is.
An apolitical or perhaps even left-leaning criminal.
Palin. No rhetoric there at all, folks. Claiming the shooter might have been left-leaning, a liberal. That is complete right-wing fiction. But Palin then described her critics on the left.
I know that a lot of those on the left hate my message, and they'll do all that they can to stop me because they don't like the message. And as many of them have promised to do, they'll do what they can to destroy the message and the messenger.
Hate on the left that seeks to destroy her and the country?
They're not going to shut me up. They're not going to shut you up or Rush or Mark Levin. If they ever were to succeed in doing that, then our republic will be destroyed.
Did she name some talk show hosts there? Nothing about the fairness doctrine in there at all. Is there no agenda at all? When Palin started her interview, a crazed gunman was the sole person to blame for Tucson. But as she talked, she spun it into a left-leaning criminal and hate on the left that wants to destroy her and the public and talkers. For more, let's bring in Eric Bullard, senior fellow, Media Matters for America. She seemed pretty nervous on the home field to me. What do you think?
Well, it's amazing it took 5 days for her to come up with that utterly predictable response. I mean, the controversy over the blood libel comment erupted last Wednesday, and she waits 5 days to respond, and her response was, as you pointed out, had a few holes in it. Look, there's a couple things. This is a perfect example of the invaluable resource Fox News provides for the Republican Party. There's sort of a political backstop for that party, and they're there they're there to stop any wild pitch that somebody uncorks. So Sarah Palin ignites this firestorm about blood libel, and what does Fox News do? It carves up a spot on its prime time for her to have this sort of cream puff interview with Sean Hannity. He sort of takes her hand and walks her through this damage control effort. Last year it was Rupert Murdoch writing $1 million checks to the Republican Party. Now it's Fox News sort of in rehab mode for Sarah Palin.
Eric, the crosshairs, the admission, the admission. How do you play that? How do you receive that?
Well, you know, this is what started the trouble for her. People aren't saying that she is responsible. Media Matters certainly is not saying she's responsible for the murder of what happened in Tucson, but people are saying that ad was a big deal last year. People were sort of aghast at it, and so that is how she became part of the story. There's nothing wrong with reporting that Gabby Giffords herself was concerned about that ad, and then her spokesperson after the shooting sort of tried to walk it back, and now, as you point out, Palin admits it was crosshairs. So it continues to be a problem. But here's the other point, not just Fox News being a backstop for the Republican Party. It's Fox News and Sarah Palin, who, remember, works for Fox News, has shown in the last 10 days really not an ounce of reflection about what's happened, about the state of violent anti-government rhetoric. They have no indication that they want to change what they're saying in terms of these conspiracy theories, in terms of all this gun language, in terms of all this paranoid rhetoric. Again, in the last 10 days, they've been throwing themselves a pity party and have shown no indication that they're at all concerned about the rhetoric.
Well, the blood libel comment I found very amazing. She really never gave a good definition of that, and then she went off into budget deficits. That's one hell of a connection. But she's going to be around. I think, obviously, it's not for the money. It's for the fame and the power. She wants to run, and I find it very interesting that nobody in the Republican Party is denouncing her at all. As goofy as she gets, as much as an unguided missile she is in interviews, no one is denouncing her at all, saying, you know what, this isn't where we're going. What do you make of that?
Well, a couple things. Fox News loved it. This morning, Chris Wallace was on TV saying he loved the interview. Fox and Friends was just gushing about it. What was interesting, though, is we have this Fox primary. Newt Gingrich, often also on Fox all the time, he did step forward and says, basically saying she needs to think before she speaks. So we're getting this green room tension within Fox News. Now we have Newt sort of criticizing Palin. We've had Huckabee criticizing Palin. It's going to be interesting how Fox News deals with this as all their employees possibly run for president of the United States.
Eric Bollert, great to have you on tonight. Thanks so much.
Where Paul Revere hung out as a teenager, which was something new to learn. And, you know, he warned the British that they weren't going to be taking away our arms by ringing those bells and making sure as he's riding his horse through town to send those warning shots and bells that we were going to be secure and we were going to be free.
The lamestream media jumped all over Palin on the technicality that Paul Revere never rang any bells or fired any warning shots. Well, that doesn't mean Palin wasn't raising awareness of history. Without her, no one would have checked into what actually happened. To prove Palin was right all along, her supporters went on Wikipedia this weekend and edited Paul Revere's page to accurately reflect her version of the story. Unfortunately, the hardcore fact addicts at Wikipedia have undone the changes and locked Paul Revere's page, which is why I want all of you to go to the Wikipedia page for bells and make sure it reads, bells used by Paul Revere to warn the British that, hey, you're not going to succeed in taking our guns, USA, USA.
So she was, of course, barbecued for that answer. It wasn't the bells, it was the lanterns warning the British, she claimed.
It wasn't mid-morning, it was midnight.
There were a lot of elements that were up for scrutiny. Yeah. Well, poor governor was on Fox News Sunday yesterday.
Just don't show this to us.
Yesterday she defended her answer.
What was the defense as painful as the answer?
You realize that you messed up about Paul Revere, don't you?
You know what? I didn't mess up about Paul Revere. Here's what Paul Revere did. He warned the Americans that the British were coming, and they were going to try to take our arms. Part of his ride was to warn the British that were already there that, hey, you're not going to succeed. You're not going to take American arms. You are not going to beat our own well-armed persons, individual private militia that we have. He did warn the British. And in a shout-out, gotcha type of question that was asked of me, I answered candidly, and I know my American history.
There you go.
So
it was a gotcha question. That cannot be the
gotcha. She called it a gotcha question. So Palin was right. There actually were hobbits that night. Stop it. Is that right?
Is that correct?
She called it a gotcha question. I'm going to repeat it.
What have you seen so far today, and what are you going to take away from your visit?
Everything's a gotcha question. It's her, isn't it? What newspapers do you read?
You spent some time with the former governor.
Have you ever had sex? I mean, everything's a gotcha question.
Not everything, just the ones where our answers aren't good.
Perhaps we are not properly educating our youth in the exceptional nature of America. It's worrisome because this belief in American exceptionalism is something that every new generation has got to make its own if we expect our republic and our liberties to be secure and to live on. For America to survive, we have got to pass this on to that next generation, to the young kids who are here, to the students.
You know, this real America, does it exist, John?
Well, in terms of real American and exceptionalism, look, the most basic thing that people can do in support of a democracy is vote. And we take our votes very seriously. The people of Alaska voted for Sarah Palin, and Sarah Palin quit. Exceptional people don't quit. And I seriously tell my kids this probably 2 or 3 times a week. It's better to lose than to quit. So she can sit there and she can talk about being exceptional. She can talk about better of America. If she were a better person, she would have stood and fought. She chose to check out and to do it to make money. I've got no problem with making money, but that's what she is. She's a reality
I
star.
have a different observation, though. He hears what's going on. That speech, the first 20 minutes, was every vapid cliche strung together. It was complete, almost nonsense.
Suppose Senator John Doe puts forth a constitutional amendment that would outlaw abortion, even in cases of rape or incest, and he asked you to attend the announcement and support him in that. Would you do it?
I would. Yes, a proposal like that, I would stand by it.
Let's be completely clear about the facts here. There is no place in the world and no time in history where restricting women's reproductive rights makes a people or a nation more free or more equal. These extreme positions on abortion are, without any question, a war on American girls and women, and the fact that there are women who are both complicit and participatory in it is really neither surprising nor unprecedented. It has always been true, and it is incredibly important that we recognize that despite the fact that we can be very proud of these women and as politicians, that the question is, how do women as citizens fare on the other side of them either being elected or not elected?